is Jax Atlantis with the Not So Minor Aspect series, and on today's episode we are going to be looking at the QuinDecile, a 24-degree aspect in astrology. The QuinDecile is very interesting because if we of course continue onto the biQuinDecile, it's 48 degrees, and the triQuinDecile is 72 degrees, which you'll know as the quintile. So the QuinDecile is the energy that leads up to the quintile. The quintile itself, to refamiliarize ourselves with that, is this energy of a sacred synthesis. Often it's divinely inspired in its nature, and it tends to be something that is very uncommon or very odd. And so the point of that is, if you look at the charts of many different geniuses or people with genius level IQs, they'll tend to be very high in quintiles and biquintiles, specifically because having this odd synthesis of different ways of looking and thinking about things, different types of artistic talents that seem to come directly from the ether, or talents that come from essentially connecting two different types of thoughts that in a sort of a consensus state of our collective, we don't necessarily normally connect those two types of thoughts together. So the QuinDecile is this diamond in the rough energy. It's where you are imbued with the energy of a talent, and it's not polished by itself. And sometimes what happens with QuinDeciles in our charts is that we'll recognize them, we'll recognize we have sort of inherent talent, and then we don't do anything with it. Or we start to work on it, but we feel so dwarfed by the quintile or biquintile energies in their expression in this world. Maybe it manifests as like a type of artistic talent, and then you compare yourself to Leonardo da Vinci, and it sort of makes the process of following this QuinDecile all the way through to the biQuinDecile and triQuinDecile, aka the quintile, it makes it feel impossible to do. And so what you do when you have the QuinDecile in your chart, or a QuinDecile that's happening as a transit, is recognize what it's trying to tell you. Recognize what it is that you need to find within yourself, and to cherish and to acknowledge and to expand within that energy, because it can be very tempting to write it off as not such a big deal. So let's say you have a QuinDecile in your birth chart, for example. We'll say the sun is QuinDecile, the north node of Jupiter, and that your sun is also quintile Jupiter itself. And so perhaps you have this inherent talent of, wisdom or a wise way of thinking. And depending on the signs that this is manifesting in, this is a type of teaching that you're naturally really good at. Well, the QuinDecile in your chart is going to be a point at which this becomes apparent, and the quintile is when it becomes manifest. But what you have to do is you have to engage with this QuinDecile energy and allow yourself to get all the way to the end through practice and through hard work. And so that's something we're going to talk a little bit more about when we get to the decile. So thank you guys for tuning in, and we will have more on the next episode.